Hi, team. Welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. This week, we're going to talk about Star Wars Story Canon and what it means in SWTOR with a couple special guests, which we'll get to in just a second. We'll also just scratch the surface on all the latest expansion news that's out over the course of the past week, but we'll go into an in-depth analysis on that news next week. And as always, we'll touch on the fun stuff going on in our guild, Alea Iacta Est. Our Astromech of the day is EPC-95, who himself is not canon, but will, of course, be launched out of our Escape Pod canon at the close of the show. So that's close for you, buddy. My co-host, as always, is Seema. Hey, Seema, how's it going? And how's those slot machines on Nar Shaddaa been for you?
Hey, Max. Well, it's kind of funny. As soon as I started playing them, the familiar sounds just took me right back to the first event. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've just spent thousands of tokens, even after I just dropped 2 or 3. It's like it never goes away, that feeling. But I haven't won my Rancor yet, but I will, and then you'll be jealous when I do.
That's anyway, a good question. If you win a Rancor, are you going to count all the credits you spent before in addition to the credits you spent now? Or are you sort of starting now, and if you win it like in 100,000 credits, you can say it was 100,000 credits?
Well, you know what? I haven't been keeping real careful track of what I've been spending. I don't spend a lot, though. Like, I haven't spent millions because...
That's right, because you spent a couple 100,000 total so far, not me, like the 3.5 million mark.
Right, because I wouldn't spend $1 million on the GTN for a Rancors. I mean, millions, so yeah.
Okay.
So there's that. I mean, and what about you? I understand you started a new Dawn this week.
Yes,
one of the canon novels.
I started a novel, and it is canon. It's A New Dawn. You talked about starting it. I decided that I would start it too, and I did listen to a fancy podcast a few weeks back. That's new on the nets that we'll be talking about also. But it got me really interested, and I kicked it off. I've been listening to. I'm probably about a third of the way through it, and it is pretty interesting, and I do like it. I do like hearing the characters, some of the backstory, and the feeling of being in the universe, and the idea that this is canon is pretty interesting. So with that in mind, I thought it'd be fun to bring on a couple guests. And our guests today are Redna and Ordoo, who I'm calling the Kings of Canon, with their new podcast called It's a Trap, which is all about Star Wars canon. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, I'm Ordoo, and I like your unofficial title for us, Kings of Canon.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and spread that out for us. I like that a lot.
Sounds good. I will trademark that on your behalf, and you can have that. Hey Redna, how's it going?
It's going very well. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, glad to have you both, and we will go into your show in detail. I'm excited to talk about canon and what it means for SWTOR, which I think will be interesting. But before we do that, we will touch on just a little bit of news that has been going on this week.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So one key piece of news is that the Nightlife event is in progress. If you are watching us live, you can come crash the Nar Shaddaa promenade. We were all visiting the casino earlier, and I have not spent much time there, but I know Seema spent a little bit of time there. What else do we have going on in the news, Seema?
Well, there's a community cantina tour on July the 7th in San Diego scheduled now. And it looks like it's going to be a little different from ones in the past because I don't think they've done this in the past where they started at 11 o'clock at the day. They have a session from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. scheduled that they're calling Story Panel and More with exact details to be announced.
Really?
And they're also...
Wow. 5 hours.
Yeah. That sounds interesting. And then 7 to 10 p.m. we'll do the cantina meet and greet, which includes swag, drinks, Q&A, mix, mingle, all that. But they're also doing a thing where if you pre-register and you attend, they'll put you into a drawing and you can earn you can win some cartel coins.
Interesting.
So that's new, I guess. They do not mention streaming any of it, which I thought they were going to make a feature of this. So I don't know. I'm kind of holding. I'll just wait and see on that aspect of it.
Yeah,
but if you're in San Diego,
interesting.
they also made the comment that if you're in the area, make sure to stop by and hang out with us. Yeah, I think you should. I agree.
Right. We've done a whole show on that in the past, on what happens at those Cantina events. And it is changing slightly, but I do recommend going and checking them out if you ever get a chance. How about Ordoo and Redna? Have you been to a Cantina event? Ever had a chance to go to one in person?
I have not been able to, but Redna has. Two of them, I believe.
Is it 2 or 3, or it's hard to keep track? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess 2.5, because it was Houtini Cantina, since they did that whole, hey,
right.
It's 14 days away, but we're going to change the date thing.
Yeah, that was a little non-optimal.
Oh, BioWare, you're so silly.
I know.
Yes.
But no, they're a lot of fun. So I got to make it to PAX Prime and then the first PAX South, which was
excellent. Those are the big ones
cool.
too, so that's great.
Yeah, and it's always really, really cool to talk to the devs and everything. It's like what they do on the stage is really irrelevant, but if you take the time to go and talk to them in person, that's when you can get real information that's actually kind of interesting. And you also get to sense their passion for the product, and it's well worth it.
Right. And you can ask them those questions they can't answer, but then you can judge by the look in their eye and the smug expression on their face whether they know the answer or not and what it actually is.
or the startled look. Wait, we haven't done operations? Oh no.
Yeah. Legacy level 50 is a big deal. People are already at that level. Anyway, also this week, patch 3.3 is continuing to be developed on the PTS. We are closing in on that patch being released, so that should be interesting. Continue to jump on the PTS and participate. There was a round of 3 days of PvP this past weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I believe. That gave everybody an opportunity, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That gave everybody an opportunity to go and PvP on the PTS to try out the content for one, for two, to play with some of the Cantina, the community managers and the devs, and then also to potentially win some cartel coins if you played enough games with them. We also had a cartel pack released recently, didn't we, Seema?
Yep. Just this week, and it's called the Mid-Rim Explorers Pack. And I was looking through it. There's some pretty cool armor in there. There's the Freedom Nad armor, which Max has a note on here. It has wings, but there's like these spikes that come out, and it's got the belt is like you're wearing, I don't know, almost a whole robot worth of metal around your waist. It's got like big pieces of metal on your waist. And then there's the energized triumvirate armor, which sparks when you draw weapons.
Yeah, that I want. So I like the triumvirate armor. I think I have it unlocked. I have it on all my characters. It's one of my favorite armor sets. But it's because it's sort of like shiny and metallic.
Yeah, there's a thing you can do with the costume designer, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can put that sparking special effect onto other items.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
So
it's like because you have it equipped, it's doing the effects. And then if you put the item into the decoration designer, the effects will remain on your character and be applied with whatever item you put onto it.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I have read about that. I haven't tried it. That's one of those things like I don't want to fall in love with because,
Yeah, they fix it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because it'll break.
There's also another Oxy Beast, it's called Military Oxy Beast, Ridge Hunter Rancor, another Rancor, and then there's a vehicle called a Vondel Ruby, which I like. I like it. I like the look of it, and it has a moonroof flourish, so you get the top opens when you mount and dismount. And then there's the sweep emote, which I believe was in the other 2 packs from this too, where you are sweeping the floor, and there's a search one where you nail down and like you're looking for your contact.
Yeah. What is it's the start of one of the flashpoints. What's the tactical flashpoint from the Starfighter expansion?
KDY.
Yeah, KDY. the start of KDY, there's a guy behind the two people that you're talking to that's always on. He's kneeling on the floor and he's looking for his contact. Every time when we were grinding KDY all the time, that's what I would say he was doing.
Well, now we can do it.
So in addition to a cartel pack that's been interesting, and now I know where all that sweeping has come from because I've been seeing everyone sweeping in our operations. There has been a little bit of additional news that came out.
Yeah, maybe one other thing, yeah.
in the past couple days. There were some leaks over the weekend, and then there were big announcements and interviews in a couple places today. So the big trailer was released today in both the keynote that went on from BioWare at E3, and an extended trailer was released for Knights of the Fallen Empire expansion. So this is going to be released on October 27th, and details have started to come out in a few different forms. There is a post that you can get to through Dev Tracker, which has a couple of the details. It does mention level 65. It does mention story. Everywhere they talk about story. It mentions that there'll be 16 chapters of story, with only 9 of them being released on the 27th. Then, well, I'll put these links in the show notes. There's a couple of the places which you can go and look for additional details. There's an article on Polygon, which talks about new companions, and they go into a little more detail and a little bit of an interview about where you get new companions. You're going to have to search out your companions, and this is still MMO content, but they're really focusing on story, etc. And finally, there was a post E3 keynote interview that was on IGN, which I believe you can still get to through YouTube, looking back through IGN's streams that they posted recently, that announced a couple more pieces of what happens around the launch. So on the 27th, when you get into the expansion, you're going to start out frozen in Carbonite. And from a story perspective, a few years are going to have passed, and you're going to be picking up from the end of the trailer that we see. And they talk about a couple other things that happen as part of that. So there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of notes coming out about this. There's a lot of details that are continuing to be released. Next week, we're going to go into much more detail on what we've heard and what we think is happening and the realities and the speculation. But I just wanted to announce it today, get everybody's initial reactions, and let it settle for a couple days before we talk about it in detail. So, Seema, what did you think?
Like the community cantinas, too. You sit back and wait for the people that are at E3 to get their interviews in and find out what they find out.
Exactly. The people that are on the floor who can get a couple beers in the devs tonight and get more of the story. That should be quite interesting. Job. So we'll go around here. Seema, what did you think of what you saw so far today?
Well, I have to say I was really taken by the cinematic, even and the long version of it too. And I liked the fact that it went back to the original, in style and effort, back to the original 3. Like they're like little mini movies, and it told a moving story. And I don't know what it means for us in terms of what we're going to be doing, other than what you just said about we'll start out frozen in Carbonite and years will have passed. But I don't know. I would watch that movie.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. That it was I would recommend everyone watch the extended version of the trailer that's on YouTube. There's links you can find all over Twitter, and I'll have one in the show notes. It has a voiceover which tells more of the story, and there's definitely a lot more that it's only like 10 seconds more, but there's significant events that happen at the end that they did not show in the original stream. Ordoo,
and the original.
Ordoo, what did you think?
I agree with Seema. I found the cinematic to be really engaging. I like the concept of the twins starting out working together and it ending in conflict, and I want to learn about their father figure, to see more about what this whole new story. It's almost like it's a reset to the story for Star Wars: The Old Republic, and I'm excited to try it and looking forward to going through it with my friends.
Yeah, that father figure, as that story sort of progressed, and I especially getting in and watching the extended edition of that trailer, he's not a nice guy.
No.
it got darker and darker the more I really figured out what was going on. So that's quite interesting. And yes, I would like to find out more. There was some interesting use of color, also the black versus white, and what the interplay there of the two brothers representing by the end a couple different perspectives, and it was quite traumatic by the end as well.
Yeah, the other thing about it is because of the colors, it really makes it appear that the one in white is actually more towards the dark side, and the one in black is more towards the light side. If you're looking in the forest there.
Yeah, and his eyes even flash red for a second there at the end, in the extended edition.
I thought they were
Redna, what did you think of the trailer and the news that's come out so far?
Well, let's see. When it started out and it had that old guy in the front, I thought Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea looks a lot like him. The original, the old school one.
Yeah.
No, I thought the story sounded great. I really like the look of it. It's very compelling. I'm really glad to see that they've got a deep story to tell, because frankly, I didn't want to see the Emperor dying by the end of the year. I want this to be a long, drawn out process. Right now, all we know is we don't know what the heck we're going to do to deal with the Emperor. So I'm glad to see that they've got more to it. And beyond that, I'm just really curious about the rest, because it seems like I think they're really fundamentally changing what their whole financial strategy is for making money off of the game, and I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, that's interesting speculation. That's the kind of thing I do want to get into next week, and I'll be interested in your thoughts on that too. I'm sure we'll be talking it up quite a bit on Twitter and whatnot over the course of the next couple months at this point. October 27th. Right, well, and I guess
but before anybody be concerned, it is being dubbed an expansion. It's 4.0 and it's free to subscribers. Don't worry.
Yep. We'll get it figured out. Couple bits of guild news before we get into our segment. Our usual op teams are continuing to run. The SUP Imperial Ops team runs on Wednesday nights. Our SOL Republic Ops team continues to run on Monday nights. And our Lords of Light Imperial Ops team is the one that Seema and I are on. That continues to stream on Thursday and Sunday nights. So keep an eye out for those streams if you want to ride along. We're mostly still just doing story mode, Temple of Sacrifice, and Ravagers with a couple hard mode bosses here and there. We tend to jump in, and I think if we can get our second tank back after he fixes up his machine his computer that exploded, we'll be getting into more of the hard mode content. I know you guys, Redna, you've been doing hard mode. I've sat in your streams watching you do hard mode Bulo, at least. How far have you gotten through hard mode operations?
Up to Underlurker or Torque, depending on which one you want to do next.
Yeah.
So you've done hard mode the walkers. How did you like that?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I mean, healing perspective is pretty straightforward. DPS stop standing and stupid. Okay, the boss should die if you're doing your other job, doing damage.
Yeah, I really like the walkers. It's a tightly tuned fight. Your DP, everyone has to do their job, but it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
Excellent. Good to know.
I'm looking forward to that one.
And then we also continue to stream our Tuesday night guild mandatory fun night. I don't know what we're doing this week, Seema, but I'm sure we'll do something. But we have a bonus this week before mandatory fun night that came up in the forums. What's going on with that, Seema?
Before mandatory fun night? I don't know.
Well, let me tell you. Yektorlo, I was on the server yesterday, and Yektorlo, one of our guildies, has offered to pull up any guildies and probably a few other people if you happen to be in the Dune Sea tomorrow night. As you hear this Tuesday night, he's going to be pulling up guildies the half hour before mandatory fun night to get those 2 datacrons on the Sandcrawler. I keep forgetting about all those datacrons on my new alts and haven't bothered to go back and get them, but it's a significant amount of stats and both main stat, endurance, and presence that you can get that's useful to any character that you probably do want to be getting. So I may go over there and get some of that done. I've ridden the balloon once for fun, not to get the datacrons, but I've only gone up and either pushed people up there and then got myself pulled up there, or done that dune seed sand crawler, the knockback way to get up there.
I've ridden the balloon many times to get the Datacron.
Really?
You really have to combine it with some other activity.
Yeah, and not be frustrated when you fall off.
Yeah.
I prefer wine.
Yeah.
My other activity.
Right.
I think I watched a TV show or two.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or a
that
movie.
Sounds about right.
Or series.
And also
You're on
quick.
That balloon a while.
Yeah, you are. Also, quick shout out to the chat room. Hi, chat room. We've got a bunch of people in there tonight. I'm not going to read off everyone tonight, but I did want to do a shout out and a congrats to Shaxa, or his character on Harbinger. That was Verhetir, who won the cartel pack giveaway that we do after the show, for just a cartel pack, but just to say thank you to the chat room. You guys make it fun, so thanks for being in there, guys. And with that, I think we can talk a little bit about some canon and a new podcast that I've been listening to.
It's a trap!
Yes, it's a trap. So, Redna, Ordoo, tell us about the It's a Trap podcast.
Well, we've been really interested in the new canon that's part of the Disney purchasing of Star Wars, and we really wanted to focus on that new canon. What is canon? The stories behind it. We cover the story, one piece of material in each episode, delve into it, give a quick summary, and then we just really describe what happened, details, how it impacts Star Wars as a greater universe. What are they bringing over from the Legends, which is all of the material prior to Disney's buyout.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us about that for just a second. So there's canon now, and there's everything that's sort of not canon. And is that what Legends is?
Yeah. The easiest way to say is, as far as it's easier to say what is canon as opposed to what is not, because the vast majority of the extended universe material out there is now considered Legends.
Okay.
Right now, as far as visual media, it's the movies, the 6 movies, Clone Wars, TV series, and Rebels.
Okay.
And then for written works, there's 4 novels right now that are out now. A New Dawn, Tarkin, Heir to the Jedi, and Lords of the Sith.
Got it.
There's 3. Well, there's comics, the comics by Marvel that are currently, there's several different ones running. Those are canon. And then one carryover from the old kind of is The Last Dark Horse, The Sons of Dathomir. It's about Darth Maul, which is a tie into the Clone Wars TV series. That's all your canon right now.
Okay,
so everything that comes up.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
Sons of Dathomir was the only one I wasn't familiar with. So that's a comic?
Yeah, it's a comic book by Dark Horse Comics.
Okay, interesting.
In the Clone Wars, there was an open-ended issue with Darth Maul, and so this was the resolution of that.
Yeah.
Ah, got it.
It's 4 issues, so it's a mini series, or is it 6 issues? It's a short mini series anyway. It's 4 issues. Pretty interesting. I've only read the first one. We're going to be covering that one in an upcoming episode pretty soon here.
Great. I did listen to your I listened to your episode where you covered A New Dawn, and that's what got me into listening to the novel. That's one of the ones I'm doing in Audible. I've always got one book I'm reading on paper at all times, and one book I'm listening to on Audible. I go through a lot of books on Audible because I do a lot of running, and marathon training is starting to ramp up for the summer, so I go through a lot of Audible. And that's mostly when I listen to books, is when I'm out running. So I've been going through A New Dawn. I'm really liking it, and I'm hearing now, matching up with what you guys talked about in your episode that covered A New Dawn.
Right.
It was great hearing about the characters, and it really made me want to go read the book or listen to the book too.
And listen to you guys talk about it too, put it in perspective a little bit for me too, because I have not seen Star Wars Rebels, so I didn't even know who the characters were. So, yeah.
Yeah, Kanan is Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah. And
spoiler.
Yeah. And the fact that, that was the other reason we really wanted to do this, because there's a lot of people who the only thing that they're going to consume is the visual media, the movies, the TV shows, and they're going to miss out on the intricacies and the interplays between the television and movies and the comic books and the novels and video games too. Yeah, because at this point, the new video games that come out will impact or be part of canon. I mean, it's all dependent on genre. There's some like trading card games are not going to really have a big impact on canon, but if it's an RPG, it very well could be. So we just really wanted to put it out there to where people who wouldn't normally pick up a book and read it, they can listen to our podcast and learn what's new, what's happened. And then if they see something in a movie, maybe they'll get a deeper understanding and appreciation for it.
Yeah.
And are you guys going to sort of take it in order, like starting with A New Dawn and then moving forward? Or are you?
Right now, we're doing the novels as they're being published.
Okay.
So as soon as we're finished, once we release Tarkin, we will have all of the current novels that are canon done. And then we'll do there's an Asajj Ventress coming out next month, and we'll do that one as soon as it comes out. And then what we're kind of doing, actually, in a week, we'll be having Phantom Menace, our movie coverage, come out. That'll actually be a two-parter, because ironically, our Phantom Menace coverage took twice as long as the movie itself. But so we'll do that movie, and then we're going to start doing the Clone Wars television series. As we start doing the Clone Wars television series, what's interesting is that television series was not published in chronological order from the Star Wars galaxy. So what we're going to do is actually watch it in chronological order and then start releasing those episodes in the chronology of, quote unquote, real time in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, excellent.
So it'll be, which should give us a little bit of a different take on it too. Of course, we've both seen the entire series, but this way we'll see it in the time frame. I'm personally kind of curious to see if there are any things that seem to be a little bit off. Like this one was published first. It turns out it took place, this one was published second, but in the time period it takes place, 2 years prior to this other one that was published first. And they just don't happen to mention that at all whatsoever, because of course it hadn't been created for 2 years. I'm curious to see if we run into that, or if we actually get a better appreciation and understanding of the flow of the storytelling. And so for that, we definitely wanted to do the chronology. And then that way, if you've missed something, like, oh, hey, if it just feels like there's something missing from these stories that are coming out, or what I've seen in the television series or whatever, you can actually go and see exactly which story arc or which standalone episode or whatever it was that you missed. You'll be able to get filled in on that.
Excellent. I listened to the episode. Was it your last episode that was about the comic book that came out recently?
Oh, our mini episode.
Yeah, our mini episode.
Yeah, so I liked that too. And I don't mind spoilers. So I saw there was a bit of a hubbub on Twitter, and we certainly won't talk about what the spoiler was, but I did like, and I know you guys have a pretty serious policy around what you'll do in spoilers on the show and versus off the show and on social networks. I did like being able to go into your show and hear all the details and speculation around it and that kind of thing. That was pretty interesting. So
we definitely, if you're going to listen to our show, we are going to spoil on our show. We're going to spoil it to death. But we consume things other than Star Wars, and we both hate spoilers. Now, we understand taking on the show that we're going to be spoiled on stuff, and we accept that, but we are definitely trying not to spoil things for people who don't want that.
Right.
Right. So all of our social media presences and whatnot, you're not going to see us putting out spoilerific tweets. We might tease a spoiler and say, come and listen to the show because there's something exciting in it, but we're not going to reveal anything through our social media presence because we do want it to be a safe place. We have a lot of people now that are letting us know, hey, I'm not going to listen to the next episode because I'm in the midst of reading the book. It's kind of like a book club for them. They want to read it before they hear about it so that they're not being spoiled, but then they can see some of the analysis, particularly that I'm doing, where I'm trying to cross-reference every single species, planet, character in the novel in order to find out if this is EU material that is being canonized for the first time. And sometimes that's just too much to plod through for most people. So even if they've read it, they're like, oh, wow, I didn't even notice that name being said. Oh, that is canon now. We get to also kind of reach out to people that way as well.
But that's one thing I like about how you're naming the episodes, at least so far, is they're named by the book. And so if I was going to start a book and I saw the episode was on that book, then I can decide whether I want to listen to your analysis, which I do, but before or after I've read the book.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's exactly what we want. We put up our production schedule on our website so people can see, hey, they're going to be doing this book in 2 months. I'm going to get it right when it comes out. I'm going to read it so that way I can listen along with them, or they don't have to, or they can just listen when it comes out. But we really want people to be able to participate in reading along, kind of do a little book club thing. Or if you don't want to read, you can just listen.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that on demand as you consume and making it into that book club type format is a great idea. I really appreciate that. So tell me about how SWTOR fits into canon then. So SWTOR is Legends now, and how does that interact, and what are the details behind how SWTOR and BioWare interacts with the people who sort of are the owners of canon at this point?
So it's a good and a bad thing. I think mostly good for BioWare, being that SWTOR is Legends. Since it's Legends, they can do pretty much whatever they want. They're not restricted to follow the rules set by whatever authors and story writers set for canon. So if there is, say, for example, in the movie, we find out that somebody can only use the force on an object up to a certain range, a mile, just throwing that out there. Well, they don't have to follow that rule in SWTOR because it's not canon, it's Legends. So it gives BioWare a lot more opportunity to go where they want with the story.
Interesting.
It's also an interesting position that we're in with the game in particular, because this is the only Legends material that is ongoing in storytelling. All the other Legends lines have been essentially stopped, right?
Sure.
So in point of fact, they don't even have to be held to the canonicity of or canonization or whatever.
I like canonicity.
But they don't have to follow the rules of the EU themselves anymore. The EU is in Legend status. They can pretty much tell whatever Star Wars story they want at this stage.
Yeah, and on top of that, being that the time frame that the SWTOR takes place in, it's set apart from the rest of the Legends and from the canon. It's a very far off time frame, so they really can do a lot. And they can just say, "Oh, there's this advanced technology. It was lost in the so many years in between here and there," and they can break from canon, but they can also say, "Well, this is why it's could still work."
And then the next step of it is that unless they choose to make a decision, or Disney chooses, under their licensing agreement, or Lucasfilm or whomever is in charge on the story side of things, if they decide that they actually want to work more hand in hand directly with SWTOR and start introducing concepts that may be essentially considered canon, that means that the story group at BioWare is going to start getting shackles put on their storytelling opportunities, right? They're going to have to have everything approved by third parties. It's going to extend the time frame it takes to release story material. But if they stay in the Legends, they can actually tell the stories they want. And what becomes more interesting, so for example, and there's no spoilers in this, but Heir to the Jedi, you can actually tell that this author is a huge RPG fan. And I'm not just talking RPG video games. I'm talking pen and paper, where you could tell this is 20 die RPG because there were what do you call those books that the masters, the story masters or whatever.
The
Campaigns?
Dungeon Master.
Yeah, the Dungeon Master guidebooks or whatever you call them. There were species that this author was using in his novel that were only mentioned in those types of books, not even in a comic book or whatever. Also, you could tell he was big into the Old Republic, and there were things that were unique to KOTOR or like planets that were only mentioned in conversation within Star Wars: The Old Republic. That he's chosen to take those names and use them. So there are definitely authors that are feeling comfortable enough drawing from even our video game to make canon.
Okay.
We haven't seen anybody so far go so far as to actually take some of the key elements of a plot or a storyline and include it. But Rishi,
like Revan, for example,
Rishi's been mentioned as a separate galaxy, dwarf galaxy, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, system.
Yeah.
Revan himself has not been mentioned, but now this was prior to Disney's purchase, but Clone Wars did canonize Darth Bane and the Rule of Two in Clone Wars television series. So,
yeah.
While that novel is Legends, the concept of Darth Bane and his establishment of the Rule of Two is canon.
Exactly. Okay. So basically what we have here is an opportunity to have an ongoing Legends storyline that is growing and expanding, and it also becomes fertile ground for any of the current Star Wars canon creators, as appointed by Lucas Story Group.
Right.
They can actually draw from what we're playing and enjoying and seed their own stories or histories of the Star Wars galaxy. So this material.
This can be that primordial soup that's boiling up over time and providing source material that then can be potentially become canon, but doesn't have to be constrained by that as it sort of tells its own story.
That's an excellent example for both SWTOR and for all of the Legends material.
Yeah, interesting.
And Disney has, I've been parroting this all over the place, but Disney has been really careful about the terminology, the vocabulary that they're using. And Legends is very apropos because they didn't say mythology. They said legends. Legends are generally stories that are based off of truth, but have been exaggerated out of proportion over time. And so it's hard to know what actually happened in that time frame. So while they may be considered legends, it doesn't mean that they're complete mythology about the gods fighting or whatever. This could be a source of knowledge of history. It's just we don't know the exact way that events or details happened in history. We just know the legends that have been passed down verbally through the generations. It doesn't mean that the characters or actors within them didn't exist.
Sure. And that's an interesting way to spin it too. Now, you said something as you introduced Legends. There are no more. Is it true that every novel that's produced from here forward will be canon, and they're just not going to allow anyone else to produce or license Star Wars fiction to produce a novel that's sort of like in a Legends category?
Yeah, right now it's Del Rey Books. It has the authority to publish everything. And then for the comics, it's Marvel, of course, which is another Disney-owned property. For the video games, at least as it stands right now, it's actually EA for anything outside of mobile. Primarily, that's because Disney has actually had some success in releasing mobile games, and they're going to continue to want to control that, I'm sure.
Got it.
Although EA did announce one of their mobile games was the Star Wars trading card game, so EA is obviously going to do some of them, but I don't expect mobile games to have an impact, but it's possible.
Right.
Well, you do know that the one they're marketing it anyway as the first game to address canon after Return of the Jedi before Force Awakens will be a mobile game that's coming out at the end of the summer. And it's a mobile RPG. Now, how deep that canon storytelling really is on the mobile device, it's hard to tell. There have been phenomenal story games where really you're more along for the ride and you get to move a little bit here and there, like Walking Dead, for instance. They've been really fun little mobile games. Deep story, not deep gameplay, but that's cool because you get really good story out of it.
Yeah, although this one does appear to be more of a Diablo-style game.
Got it. And
But that brings up a question I had, which is, where does Star Wars Battlefront fit in vis-a-vis
that's
canon?
what I was going to get to.
From all accounts, these are basically, you know how there are people in the South? Yeah, there are people in the South that like to do their Civil War reenactments.
Sure.
Well, Battlefields is going to be your location to do the Galactic Civil War reenactment.
Yeah, all of the previous Battlefront games, the first and the second, they were individual missions. You just did the reenactment of a particular battle. They were not story driven whatsoever. The single player, they had absolutely zero story in the first two games, except for, to say, the pre-existing movie stories. And then you just did the battles. So I don't expect it to have any impact whatsoever.
The singular exception to that is that all of their assets, everything that you see in the game, will be canon. So the guns, the ships, the characters that are in there, the outfits, exactly.
And actually, so far,
the vehicles
and the planets. Yes. We are going to be seeing Sullust for the first time as a planet in canon in this video game.
In visual media.
Right.
Interesting. That's interesting.
So
they will have to do some work on that. For those of you that don't know who the
Salustans are, Lando's co-pilot attacking the second Death Star with the big cheek jowl flap things.
Froggy face little guy. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, so that and boy, just as a side note, that Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah.
So good.
It does look really good.
That game, it was like 5 minutes of gameplay, and it was as compelling as a lot of cinematic trailers coming out of, for a bunch of the other games. I was just mesmerized. I could totally see that being, well, it was also cut together from both sides of the battle. So
they did a good job of kind of making it a cinematic gameplay. They transitioned from one side to the other, from different perspectives, different characters. It was
ground combat to air combat, and But boy, that looks like a fun game. If we could have that as PvP inside of SWTOR, it would own all games ever.
Oh my god, yeah.
I'm convinced.
We need the Frostbite engine before that'll happen.
That would just be amazing, wouldn't it?
But to your final point as to how would SWTOR or BioWare actually end up contributing to canon, the easiest way to put that would be lost artifacts, weapons, icons, some kind of, we already know that Vader's mask is all burnt and melted in a part of the movie, apparently. At least it's in a trailer.
Yeah.
Conceivably, such items... if this were an Indiana Jones movie and, Luke is traveling the galaxy going on archaeological digs, then he might dig up some of the stuff that we're leaving on the ground right now after killing a significant boss at the end of a expansion release operation. I mean,
sure.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I think that would be a pretty big coup if they were, say, walking through some Jedi temple, and just in the background on a stand, like in a museum, there's Revan's mask sitting there.
Right,
they don't say anything about it. They don't refer to it
in order to freak people out too much, but just having it there would be a huge statement.
It would. That would be pretty interesting. All right, guys. Well, this has been excellent. It's answered some questions that I have. I hope everyone else got details out of it. I certainly am interested to hear. You said what's the next episode that you're going to do? You said
Phantom Menace will be
the next one
released. That's right. I'm thinking next one we're recording.
Excellent.
You can actually go to itsatrappodcast.com, and at the top there's a tab for our production schedule, and we've embedded a calendar there that as we change it, it will always be current. So you'll know what we're going to be. Even we put both recording times and release dates on there.
Great. And that's itsatrappodcast.com. You're on Twitter at itsatrappodcast, right?
Correct.
Yep.
You're also on
Facebook
Twitter
at facebook.com. It's a Trap Podcast.
Excellent. And then individually, you guys are at Redna. It's R3DN4, correct?
Don't throw me out the airlock.
DN4 on Twitter, and Ordoo.
We would never do that.
Ordoo Scarata. Yeah, how do you spell Scarata for the people on the podcast?
It's at ORDOOSKIRATA.
Excellent. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it, and it was awesome having you on. And I think with that, we won't throw you guys out the airlock, but EPC-95 here is primed to be blasted out of our escape pod cannon. I like cannon with 3 N's, as Seema was saying earlier, not 2. And thank you to our chat room. And thanks for everyone that is joining us either on newoverlords.com, iTunes, YouTube, or live on Twitch. We will continue to stream the show next Monday night at twitch.tv/newoverlords around 10:30 p.m. Central. And please follow us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA, or find us on Jedi Covenant and ask us for an AI Guild invite. We would be happy to have you. And we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
It's a trap.
I lost my sound effects.